Hey, how's it going? I'm Carm Taglia with Roofing Rev Marketing, and this is my podcast, Top 3 Roofers. And today I'm going to have on for you Fernando Saavedra. He is founder of Veristra. He is a construction engineer. Right now, he's based in Honduras, and he helps scale roofing companies from like 2.5, 25 mil in about 3.5 years. He specializes in commercial estimating, back office systems, and now he provides third party estimating, production support, bookkeeping, and operational services for roofers. So I just want to welcome him to the show. How's it going, my man?
Hey man, thanks for the intro. I loved it. It's doing good, man. It's a good time to start being doing this.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, for today, the topic is like the hot topic is commercial roofing. Like the stat says only the average contractor wins 1 in 4 bids. I feel like that's really inflated. I'm sure it's a lot
It
more, and you
is.
probably got studies to talk about with that, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's a different market, you know. It's my mentor, Art Gomez, from he works now with ABC Supply. He used to say, or he says, as a matter of fact, that it's a total different animal. You
Oh yeah.
just make a mention like on hunting, it's not the same. It's just different. You can't expect to be doing the same thing that you're doing for residential as well as commercial. If you do that, you're gonna hit a truck front wise.
Yeah, because I mean, it's got to be even worse for like public jobs and public bids. It says 1 in 10, but that's got to be even lower than that, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a bit inflated, but to me, it's a relationship-driven business. If you don't tackle it that way, you can lose your company easily. And there's just so many things to do right. There's just so many things to drive your company immediately through the drain. So, hey, let's go at it.
beautiful, man. Yeah. And then we'll also talk about estimating errors that cost the industry billions. It sounds like a great way to banko your business. You know, like well, definitely we'll dip into that. And then on my end, a lot of what I do, I work with a lot of residential, commercials, very specialized, very different commercial construction. I get a lot of residential roofers that want to break into commercial. So this will probably help them out and how services like yourself, third party estimating, your expertise, your hand holding, how you can kind of bridge the gap for them to actually start getting their feet wet in commercial roofing.
Yeah, definitely. So, bringing some experience to it, I think that everybody is dashed by the idea of I want to be the commercial roofer. I want to be the big guy. I want to be doing the big shot projects. It's not necessarily that way. Like literally a couple of weeks ago, I was posting on LinkedIn on stay on your lane, you know? I mean, it's good to diversify because you don't know what you're gonna get on the next couple of years or if something's gonna happen. But try to keep on your lane, like try to be known for something specific. More often than not, a residential company, if they don't really know what they're doing, jumping into commercial, man, I just keep going back to it. You're just gonna flush your company down the drain. It's fairly easy to make a mistake, and you don't really know, or they don't really know what it all entails to actually start doing a commercial business. From having to have delays on payments, you're gonna have changes on the insurance that you pay. That was a surprise that whenever I was with a roofing company we faced, and yeah, it's a steep jump from I don't know what I call it 30 grand a year to 140 or $150,000 a year easily on that.
Yeah.
Just in
And I mean, basically, too, right? Start small. Great. If you did a couple gas stations, flat roofs, that's easy. But then, like, there's a difference between doing that commercial job and doing like the United Center, where like the Chicago
uh,
Bulls play, like there's levels of this game as well.
most of things are similar. I think people are not actually focusing on what's what. Because I mean, both you and I and every other roofer knows residential usually refers to doing a re-roof, storm chasing and all that. But to me, I can split commercial in several categories. You have tract homes. To me, that's commercial because that's a new construction
Sure.
home. You have new construction work, you have re-roofing, and all of this you need to face on a separate way or a new way of doing things with a different method. Each one has different difficulties, and as well, the earnings on each has to be split up on separate ways of doing the business.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's so specialized, right? I mean, it's just so
So one of the things that, more often than not, the residential contractors that come to us, they're like, okay, let's make a plan. I want to start this year doing the commercial stuff. And I'm like, yeah, hold your horses. Let's start with a 3-year plan. Really, a 3-year plan? Yeah, man. Because, man, one of the things that I constantly say, and it might be very drastic whenever I pull it out, is that if you're going to start, first off, try a small re-roof, don't jump into the pool. So, quick story. You know how my dad taught me to swim? He picked me by the arms, threw me onto the pool, and while I was on the air, just like what the heck, he was like, swim.
Yeah.
That's not how you do it, man. That's how you get drowned. So
That's the old school way, man. You're showing your age like me. I was born in '76, right? So that's how they taught us, right? It was like, okay,
right.
throw you in the pool. There you go, man.
Yeah, figure it out. I mean, hell, you came out of water, you know your way into it. But that's the thing. You usually have to start small, and that's what we recommend. Get with your local distributor, get with your local material supplier, have them introduce you to manufacturers and get a low tier qualification and start doing houses that have low slope roofs, start doing some mud bits, start doing small sections of TPO. And then what we tell them is go out there and door knock a commercial roof? Yeah, go door knock the daycare center at the end of the street. Go door knock the strip mall that's, two, three, four businesses, small ones. There's always a place to start. The thing is that whenever you want to go onto the big commercial jobs, 600,000, I don't know, $1.2 million jobs, there's just too much stuff that you don't get told at the beginning of it. First off, if it's a new construction, you're not going to qualify.
Oop,
This is
Fernando,
a
I lost you for a
residential.
second. You're right about to say something. It cut out. You're right about to talk about the job, and then it just cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead. What were you saying? I'm
So
sorry.
yeah. So what they don't really tell you whenever you start a new construction job is that first off, you need to qualify to it.
Yeah,
It's not like a 1 year, 2 year business. They're going to go into it. They're going to look under your skirt and they're going to figure everything out. Like literally you get credit checks, you get checks towards if you went bankrupt anytime soon.
yeah.
Previously you had like a threshold of if you had a bankruptcy within 3 years, you couldn't work. Then they moved it to 5 years and now it's usually 7 years. If you have any sort of bankruptcy or something like that, either personal or with a business, you just don't qualify and they don't look at it. They're going to look on what's your credit scores. They're going to look on if you can provide warranties. There's this controversial discussion on residential that is the warranty worth it? And, there's many things to be said to that commercial wise if you can't provide a warranty or an NDL or something like that, they're just going to look otherwise. Go with the next roofer out there. There's a saying in residential that 70% of the time, if you're the first on the door knocking, you get that job. Commercial is not the same. Commercial, you have to figure out a number and then kind of be likable. That's what I was telling you. It's a relationship driven business, and if you just don't go out there, meet the constructors or meet the customer every now and then, take them to golf or taking them on a fishing trip. There's ways to work around it with supply chain, but if you don't do that, they're just gonna take your number and go other way. I had that happen to me whenever I was working with this roofing company.
Sure.
Part of the things that I was discussing with you is that how I came into roofing about 2019, so about 70 years ago, is that I was a construction engineer here in Honduras, doing bridge, doing roads, and all that stuff. And it's a little bit different from stateside. I went into roofing and just fall in love with it immediately. The thing with that is that it's just so different. We took a company from 2.5 millions with my mentor. I mentioned him, Art Gomez. He was doing the state side, being likable, doing all the relationships, the handshakes, doing all the fishing trips that I'm mentioning. And we were doing the back office. It has to have synergy. If you don't do it that way, if you don't go with both strands at the same time,
Hmm.
you're just gonna outgrow yourself
Sure.
one leg than another, and it's gonna take you out of me. And the things with that is going at each job, it's just so much different that how we did sky rises, we did schools, we did everything there. And again, it's a different relationship that you have to figure. It's a different material that you have to figure. One mistake can put you out of business easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be more about margins and estimating and knowing what to expect, like knowing the unknown that are going to come, like what's going to hit you.
Right.
What's going to make you duck and look for cover, right?
Definitely. Hell, just getting into the job. So you mentioned margins. On residential, you're used to the 30-40% margin on a job, after costs. Commercial, you have to figure which one you're doing, or which lane you're moving. So new construction, you're usually going at easily 18 to 25% margin and the if goes for, if it's a tilt top wall, you're going at 12%. 12, 13%. And there's the difference, you're not used most of the other jobs, you can subcontract your labor
Hmm.
and figure, go out bidding, figure something out. For tilt up work, you have to have your in-house crews. If not, just don't even estimate it. Don't even try, because you're not going to make it. Like, they go out there with labor numbers for 20, 25, $30 a square. It's so big that you can
Hmm.
cover 100, 200 squares a day. Yeah, that's crazy. But then again, if you don't really know it, you're going to be throwing numbers, and it's just trying to throw spaghetti at the wall. You're not going to get it. Now, re-roofing commercial, you can have a solid 30, 25, 30, 35% might be, overshooting it. Tract homes is crazy. Tract homes, you don't actually do like a margin for the project, but you figure how much you want to make on every house. So for example, it's not like this is cost plus. No, you're going to say, I'm going to do 300 bucks on this model, and I'm going to do 400 bucks on this model. And that's it. But then again, you're getting 1,000 houses a year. So that's 300,000 bucks net profit on it. So, it's different. And if you don't really know it, whenever you try to jump into it and shift from the residential aspect into it, you're going to spend a year or two throwing things at the wall and not getting anything.
Oh yeah.
And, just falling out of love with it.
Yeah, then, when you fail at certain things and then you give up and you say, "Oh, it sucks," right? Everybody always, it just sucks. But in reality, it's not the situation that sucks, right? It's just you don't have the answer to the problem, and the problem is very complex, very hard to solve. Like, I don't pretend to be an expert on, you know, anything commercial roofing because, it's so vast, right? Like, I always like to think of myself as I'm always a student of the game, a student of, these things, right? Uh, but like, for a residential roofer trying to break into commercial, what do they need to, like, what mistakes do you know for a fact they're going to make out of the gate, with the estimating and the margins and stuff like that? You mentioned knowing the different lanes, but like, outside of that, what's the next step?
I've seen the two biggest mistakes, if you want to call it that way, that we've seen is the first one, trying to bite more than you can chew. Why? Especially in new construction. So whenever you go into new construction, every time we go at it, we tell the residential roofers, you're gonna need deep pockets. Oh yeah, man, I've got about 30 grand on the bank after profit last year, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna need another zero easily
Yeah, you're
on
gonna
there.
need 3 million.
One of the controversial, sorry, things that I say about new construction is that it looks like a Ponzi scheme. And I know
Okay.
I'm gonna be hated about that one, but with the retainage, whenever you go into new construction, you're gonna have easily 10% retainage on every single job. What does that mean? For every time that it's not like you set up a payment schedule, and whenever you go through, okay, I delivered this first building, you're gonna get paid that building. But if it's I don't know, 50 grand on that roof, they're gonna keep 10% up until they finish the job. Now, keywords, they finish the job. If you're out there, you're division 7, roofing. So there's easily 20 more divisions that are going to go out there, go at the job, cover the walls, do all the siding, interior painting,
Hmm.
all the floorings, all the ceilings and all that. And up until they give out the building to the owner, that's when you get paid that 10%. And it can be easily 8 months, a year, 2 years out. Think about $1 million contract, that's like everybody wants that $1 million contract.
Yeah,
That's 100,000 bucks out a year. And if you're doing 18% profit, can you really afford it?
sure. Yeah, you can't. It's like a way to make your company banko if you're not used to that, right? Or you're not
There you go.
expecting that, or you're not considering that.
Right. The second thing that we see constantly, or that we've seen, those horror stories on the industry, is, pardon my French, not knowing your shit.
Yeah.
If you're estimating, and this was my last year working for a roofing company, and man, as I was telling you earlier today, there was a one point that it was 6 months out that we were working,
Mhm.
and within those 6 months, we sent easily 120 bids out there. Probably we got about six, seven of them, but there was this one company that, man, they had my number, dude. Like every single time, they were out of us easily 10% under.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't know how to. Our relationship with the GC was so good. Then again, relationship driven business that he was like, I want to work with you. And he would show us their number, like, nobody wants to admit it, but they show their numbers because they prefer one roofer over another,
Sure.
but nobody's gonna admit it. I
Yeah.
Dad said it was like, I want to work with you. I want to give you this roof, but they're just $100,000 under you. And man, we went at it over all angles, reverse engineer it, first labor, cost plus,
Mhm.
our original margins, and we just couldn't figure out how they do it. About a year and a half after that, the company went bankrupt. And what were they doing? They hired somebody that they was their lead estimator, and it was submitting all this work. And they signed about 7, 8 contracts that they took from my hands, man. Like literally, I was
Yeah.
two those, and they had to file bankruptcy.
So they
The
were
company.
basically probably just doing the work for free, right? They were just washing money because the estimates were just
Yes.
so far off. They were still doing the work, right? And then they didn't have any profit afterwards, right? Like, is that what happens? Is it like if you go and you say you're going to do the job, you go out and do the job and you lose money on that job, you eat it? Is that how it works?
So, what I heard through the grapevines about that company in specific
Hmm.
is two things. One, they missed a crap ton of things. For example, missing 2.5 inches of ISO on top of a flat roof, that can put you out of there. Missing a proper drainage system, sorry, proper tapered system to it, that can put you out of that bid. Or if it's too high and instead of using fasteners, you're going to have to glue it. It's not any glue. You're going to have to use low rise glue for it to stick. So a sum up of those many things can put you on a loss on a job, not just not making a profit, but actually having to lose money. And put on top of that, what we are just talking about on the retainer about a year out,
Hmm.
that's bankrupting you. And the
Yeah.
second thing that I heard about them in specific was that they would underbid the job. And just before they started, once they had signed everything, they would hit the GC with change orders. And, that's a common thing. I remember one job that we did in San Antonio, a skyrise.
Hmm.
And by the end of the job, the architects that designed the project, they didn't really consider so many things. And probably we signed the OG contract around 200,000, and we had easily 245% change order. So it was almost a $500,000 roof. Crazy. But it's if
Nuts.
things were missed, during the design process or unforeseen things, it was a re-roof. So there was so much things going around that they didn't really consider. I mean, it's my win.
Did they consider, did they not know? Was it the unknown? Was it the inexperience? Or was it like, I'm just gonna leave it out because I want the job and I'll just race to the bottom? Like, what was it?
I think in that case was the GC just a mix of both. I think there was some stuff that they didn't really know that they were gonna have to do. For example, imagine Riverside, San Antonio, like downtown. If you're gonna close a road there and put up a crane for a 22, 30 stories high skyrise, that's gonna cut the street for about 1, 2, 3 days. Each day that you cut off that street is 60 grand that you have to pay to the city. Then again, downtown San Antonio, busiest place in
Yeah.
town. So a couple of mistakes like that, and you having to close the street 2 or 3 days additional, that's 200,000 bucks. That's crazy. So I think that was the mistake that GC made there, and put them over the top on pricing. But then again, also trying to rush it up, like I'm gonna do this as fast as possible because I want to be the first number out there and the lowest number out there. That's not necessarily the right thing to do. Even with roofing, if you're out there with the lowest number, like, and I've talked with GC estimating departments completely. Whenever you're out there having a dinner or having them out fishing, they'll say if we get 6 bids and all of them are in the range of $1 million, but the lowest one is 750,000, we just discard that one because we know they made a mistake, It's too big of a gap. Same goes pretty much everywhere. Um, what this roofing company that I was telling you was doing is they were hitting them with the change orders, But if it was things that wasn't your scope and was on the OG plan set that you get,
Hmm.
you're accountable to it. And they're going to hold your feet to the fire on it. And you're going to
Yeah.
have to pay for it because it's part of the contract. And they're never signing your contract. You're signing them.
Yes.
And the small letter in the fine print, that's where they will hide, not hide, but it's part of that legal warning that screws you.
Protecting themselves. You're right. It's like that guy didn't even think about that. Like the contract is in their favor, right? Like they're the ones that hold. They're the ones holding the cards, right?
Yeah. So then again, if you don't go, deep diving into it, into the plans, into the specs, you're gonna get screwed up. Remember a job that then again, another skyrise in Austin. This time, I'll be honest, I don't know why. But the architect wanted on all the metal details on top of it, on the copings, on the edge metal and all that. It was a flat roof TPO, and he wanted some sort of steel. Can't really remember the name of the steel,
Okay.
but it doesn't have any magnetic properties, arsenic or something like that.
Hmm.
And it was 10 times as expensive as regular, galvanized steel or colored finish or whatsoever. The difference like that can put you out of business.
Yeah. What's that? Made out of like Iron Man's suit of armor? Like what was that? Uranium or something? What
Right.
was it made out of?
Right.
Like, come on, man. It's a mythical
Yeah.
metal. That's nuts.
It is crazy. And that's the thing. If you don't really know what you're going into, if you're not reading everything and going at it, one of the things that I hate estimating, it's an FM Global job. I really dislike those. Why? Because they're whole to the uppermost standards, and you're going to have constant audits throughout the job, constant tests throughout the job. And some contractors just don't really know that that's a thing. And it's like at the middle of all the specifications whenever you get a set of plans.
Hmm.
And that's going to bring so much drag to the project. Like if you estimate it for 2 months out, you're easily going to spend about 6 months into that project. That's superintendent, that's lodging if you didn't consider that, that's per diems for 4 months. You're not going to make any money. And just out of the spec saying, hey, this is an FM global warranty job. That's it.
Wow. That is crazy, man. What's the answer? Like, what's the special sauce to like winning bids? Like what's like winning the bid, winning on the profitability? Like what's the special sauce on that? Like what's the secret ingredient?
To to me, it's the teamwork of actually having somebody capable enough within your office that's going to be doing, getting the bids, getting the estimates, processing all of that, making sure that you're not going to miss anything and that, there's going to be mistakes every single time. But it's not the same as having a 1% mistake from your profit that, hey, you can take that hit. You're still making another 17, 14, whatever you want to call it, as making 7% of the whole revenue mistake out of I didn't consider the one material. It's crazy. I've seen mistakes of $300,000 on lumber on a job just because how it needs to be installed in specific on TPO jobs.
Hmm.
And also having somebody out there whenever they're selling the roofs, selling the jobs, going either with a GC or with this big construction companies that do tract homes or just the re-roofing side of it. You need somebody not only likable, because that's a big thing, and then again, constantly saying it, relationship driven business, but also somebody that again, part of my French, knows their shit.
Yeah.
Why not? They're not gonna go out there promising all of this stuff everywhere and working with all of these things. You need somebody that knows their stuff that can find all the problems that you're not going to see. For example, paver systems, they're more and more common every day. They go on top of the GPO, on top of the PVC, but there's everything that's going to touch your roof on the commercial side. You need to learn about it. You learn about the paver systems, learn about waterproofing, learn about the siding, how it's going to connect to your roof. Because
Yeah. The envelope, right? I mean, it's a whole structure. It's not like you just roof, right?
exactly, not just go at it on the roofing mentality, but actually, hey, let's look at the building. I think that has been the secret sauce on us on doing the commercial estimating. On as I mentioned, my team, or I'm a construction engineer, and my team, 90% of it is either construction engineers or architects. So they're not just going at it on a I'm a roofer mentality. No, I mean, they every now and then like to be impressed on going through the whole set of plans. They'll go through the floor plans just out of, hey, I want to see how this layout is. And, that curiosity. And that's where you find out, what the heck? Why is this wall connecting through this? Man, I remember once that we had a job in Austin for a medical building and wanted us to terminate the flashing from the roof, metal flashing, into a glass wall. And I'm like, that's not gonna happen. And no, but the architect was like, yeah, I've seen it. Show me a picture. I'll bet my salary for a year. You don't have a picture of that thing. It's, try to be the hero, try to become the hero that you're going to bring the solution to every problem they have, even if you're not connected to it, and not necessarily bill for it. It's better to be the good guy or that one guy and get two, three more contracts than making your money out of the one job.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes down to experience, right? Like knowing things like that. Like you knew by looking at that picture, like, hey man, this ain't gonna work out. Like I know you want the form and have it look pretty, but that's not gonna function well for you, like it's not gonna work out.
Definitely, man. One of the moments that that really raised my ego and made me very very proud is that at one point, whenever I was working with this roofing company, the GC asked them to fly me out to it because there was like two buildings, the medical building and the garage building, and there was like a bridge connecting them both, like on level two, three,
Hmm.
second story, and they couldn't actually figure out of the material that the architect wanted to use to wrap the bridge. It was like a very architectonic and good looking stuff, but they didn't really know how to wrap it on the top side and how to do a drainage system to it. And I was like, okay, let me go out there and be like, okay, I'm not a construction engineer out there, but working like one. And I'm very, very proud of that moment, but that's just, you get there throughout the years with your knowledge, learning more constantly and figure some new things out every single day. Looking at it from another perspective, and then again, becoming their hero. That company gave us easily $4 or $5 million worth of work a year, constant. Just out of
Beautiful.
that.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, what's gonna be like this is kind of weird. So like construction projects, like, do they always go like over budget? Like what causes them to go over budget so often? Like I feel like it's like no matter what you quote, it's always gonna go over budget, right? Or is that not true?
I think it is the rush of everybody trying to drive down the price, as
Mhm,
lean as possible. And even if you have like a small amount for things that can go wrong, we like to every now and then do 1% on that, just CYA. But it's those unforeseen things. At least to us, that's what we've seen. Is the lumber guys are a little bit late
mhm.
on a building, that's going to put you an additional week out there. Therefore, you're going to have to pay the superintendent for having to do that. Now, if you have a bad estimating on your company,
Mhm.
you're out easily. And I think that's another thing that's hard for any roofing company going into it is think about hiring an estimator. I just mentioned about the company that went bankrupt from the one guy, but an estimator, a decent one, it's going to be 60, 70 grand a year,
Mhm.
just wage. That's not considering that you're going to have to pay workers' comp, that he's going to be a W-2, that you're going to have to pay taxes on him, that you're going to have need an office space for him to be out there and sitting there and doing all this stuff. Every now and then he can go out there to a job site, but also there's just so much jobs or projects or bits that he can work at the same time. So, and even at that, it's a Russian roulette because they're gonna put all this bids and all these projects that they got on the resume. And I'll ask you this: if you're hiring somebody, how often do you call the references? Probably 50% of the time. Most of the time, people just like, yeah, you know what? I think it's gonna be good. And I mean, it's a Russian roulette. You can get the top performer, the best guy that he is the guy, or you can get somebody that's just selling smoke and whistles.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like estimating like a revolving door type of position where like the companies that have good estimators, they really value that guy, they're really compensating that guy, they're holding on to that estimator versus the one you keep seeing churn every 90 days, couple years, whatever. Like, is it like different levels of estimators?
Definitely. And even you have that option and you also have the option of third partying it. And within third party, you can do somebody local that then again, either you figure out their reputation and how they're it. And if they're good, they know they're good. they're going to bill you for that. And if not, if they're a rising star, probably, then again, it's a Russian roulette and they're going to be playing with your money. And how often do you see them actually like insured, or that they're, most of the contracts have some language that, hey, I'm doing the work,
Mhm.
but you have to review it again. I mean,
Sure.
do your job on reading through it, and I'm not liable if I/we missed something. And then you have the outsourcing option of nearshoring it, or offshoring it. That opens a whole can of beans there. It's a different conversation. How many people have you heard in the industry that they're working with somebody not down talking anybody in Asia or India or anything like that? But then again, there's so many horror stories now. The difference on time zones for communication and all that, it's another step to take. Now you have the nearshoring options, within Latin America. That's what we're exploiting a bit.
Mhm.
Um, and then after figuring out, are you going to hire somebody that has a degree and figure if they're good or not, and have them learn, probably a little bit less expensive than hiring somebody stateside, but it's still learning curves. You're going to still have to pour into it. And back to the first conversation we had, if you're a residential roofer, that they're just going into it, what are you going to teach him?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know. You don't know what to teach them because 'cause you're a novice yourself, right, at that point.
Exactly. So there's so many things to consider just before you do the jump. And, I do have this conversation constantly with residential contractors. Easily 75% of them are like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm still good. Let's pour all of this investment back into residential. Let's expand to another city. Let's do a franchise out there and make a bigger operation instead of doing commercial. And if you're going to do commercial, okay, let's do a 3-year plan.
Mhm.
Where do you want to see yourself here? What do you want to be doing at? So here, this is going to be people that you're going to have to contact. Let's talk with your local sales rep. Let's figure which companies do you want to target. Let's not target all of them. 300 companies just within your city. Let's go after two and do an organized plan, not just shooting a shotgun and see what do you hit. No, it's rather let's work on a sniper.
Yeah. So, like, is an estimator kinda like a NFL quarterback? Is it like when the team does good, they like, "Oh, it's the estimator, yay," and then when the team does bad, it's like, "Oh, the estimator, boo." Is he like the quarterback of the team?
To an extent, the thing is with the praise, they're not usually the guy that they have celebrating. Usually the guy celebrating and the one that's gonna get all the glory is whoever signs the deal, the sales rep. But I'll say the estimator, it's more like the coach.
Okay.
He's gonna tell you where you're gonna go, or let's try this, or let's do this bit instead of this one, because this is what we can actually afford to go out there on a couple of years and have the sales rep be the quarterback, drive it home, be the one that's getting the glory and throw it on the air and all that stuff.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about systems and system exposure. I mean, we'll pivot to that.
Sure.
Like, what are I mean, they can't just have paper and a spreadsheet. Like, what are the systems that need to be implemented in order for this to be successful?
Man, first and foremost, and this is me talking, a CRM. Because you can be a company out there, a residential, not have one. I respect it if you want to do it, or probably you're just too old school to actually, go into technology and all that. But sometimes I see some horror stories on the making, or some incredible success stories. We have one of our customers that I'm still every single week sending him an email on, let's get a CRM. He is a tract home guy and he is doing over $20 million a year
Mhm.
easily on revenue through Excel. I'm constantly telling him, dude, let's get a CRM. I'll set it up for free, personally, me, Fernando. I'll fly out there and I'll set it up for you for free. And he's like, no, this worked for me for the past 15 years and I'm making this much money on profit a year. Hey, it works. Why change something and I'm like, the problem with that is that this is me thinking, I don't think he really knows where he's standing.
Sure.
He might
Well,
be
it could
standing
be a $30 million company, but he's doing Excel spreadsheets.
right.
Now he's only a $20 million because he's cut his like. So does that cut into the margin in some way? Like, how does that work?
Pretty much. I mean, rather than the margin, because he says and constantly says, I'm very frugal and I'm frugal. Okay, cool. You are, but
Are you
I'm a faith
stepping
guy.
over dollars to pick up pennies at that point? Because at
Right,
the
right, right. And I'm a faith guy. And the Bible says at some point that everything, too much of something, it's not good. So too much frugal as well is not good. You need to take your company to the next level. Or what I meant with, I don't know if where he is standing is he can have a $20 million a year company, but how the roofing changes every single year. Probably last year he made, I don't know, what to call it, 3 million bucks on profit.
Mhm.
Probably this year he's going to do 20,000 bucks in profit. And he doesn't really know up until whenever it's about to file taxes. And the accountant actually tells him, hey, this is what we made. So this is a constantly changing, constantly evolving industry with so many things affected by so many macro and microeconomic things. And that's a whole nother conversation. Just politics.
Yeah.
What's the price of asphalt going to be? That can change from one day to another. Look at how the COVID hit us.
Oh,
We went into lockdown. We went into so many things, and we were essential workers, the roofers. But changes were made. Stuff was different. So knowing where you stand and being able to take those decisions to avoid driving it down the cliff, it's something that you need constantly. That's the first thing that we say. Let's get a CRM set up, and then
transparency, right? I mean, you need to have everything transparent, everything organized, everything like so you could see the whole game, right?
yeah, definitely. Second thing is let's have your books in order. That's a big for us because back to it, your CRM, it's just going to be as good as the info that you put into it. And it has one specific thing that's going to do. CRM goes for customer relationship management. That's for it, for you to track your jobs, for you to track all this information and all that stuff. But having a good financial system like QuickBooks or something similar to it, it's necessary. And looking at it from the company side of the business,
Mhm.
it's a separate entity. It's not like, hey, this is Fernando Roofing. No, it has to be this roofing company. Why do I say it? One of the worst stories that we've seen, because we do bookkeeping as well, is
Mhm.
one of our customers. We go at it, and we were cleaning his books from previous years, and he was putting his OnlyFans account, like spending, into the roofing business. And I'm like, dude, no, we're not gonna do that. And he's like, no, man, but it's no, 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 no. I don't want my clerk out there. She's gonna be a 23, 24-year-old girl looking at all of those descriptions from it. I was like, nah, dude, I'm not having that on.
I know, plus you're a faith-based guy, right? Like, come on, man, OnlyFans, come on,
Yeah.
man.
But looking at it from what's business, what's personal, and I know there's things that there's commentaries to be made and exceptions to be used for the benefit of the business, but there's limits to it. That's my thinking on it. Third, I'm a really big fan of company cam on putting that everywhere or out there, or a good picture software that's gonna geotag, that's gonna do so many things, especially before and after pictures. Whenever you're doing commercial, new construction. As I was telling you, Division 7, we go in at 7 is on the round, and afterwards come a plumber.
Mhm.
If he cuts through your roof, he digs a hole to get the pipes out there. If you don't have a picture how you left it, you get hit with that change order. You're out there to fix it. If you're doing a TPO roof and the welders come out there for the AC units and they don't really cover it, and the sparks burn through the TPO, if you didn't have pictures before and after, you're out to pay that and repair all that stuff.
Yeah, you're accountable. So, I mean, a spreadsheet makes you more accountable for stuff that you don't wanna be blamed for.
Exactly. And that's where I was telling you back to it. Where do you store them? If you're not going to store pictures on an Excel spreadsheet, oh, it's on my phone. What if you get mugged? It's so many things can happen. And if you don't have, let's take advantage of all the technology that we're having now.
Time saver, right? I mean, right there and then, I mean, time is literal money. I mean, it's literally money. So saving that time, what would it have cost you to have somebody sit there for $100 an hour and go through pictures when you could just have the app that for whatever it is per month do it for you? Like what?
Exactly. And the value of a picture, I know some contractors that will work there that, especially on the residential side, they don't really trust their superintendents. I mean, they trust them to go overlook that the roofing is being done well, but their phones suck. They have an old model or they're too old school. And what they will do is that literally they would hire a guy for, I don't know, 150 bucks a day to
Mhm.
go out there and take pictures while they're roofing. And it's like 150 bucks a day. Yeah. But if someone is willing to do it and just take the pictures of the whole job, then again, that can save you from a big trouble or a tough conversation.
Yeah, I still rather have this. Even a person using a software is more efficient than just a person not using the software, right?
Exactly.
Apples to
And
apples.
The last thing that I'll say is having a good estimating software. There's so many out there. We use about two, three different ones just because we actually tailor everything we do to best serve the contractor. Like if they put it to me, okay, let's use this one. We're going to use this one specific. But if they're like, no, man, we've been using this one for the past 10 years and we're going to keep it, sure. Let's work with that. I mean, we're tailored on it. But an estimating software is just as good as you built it. So go over all the assemblies and actually take your time building it. It can take 7, 8 months, I don't know, to build it. And what we do at least is we every time we every now and then we go at it on a mentality of, okay, this is wrong. It might be perfectly fine, but the mentality is this is wrong. Let's figure out why is it wrong. Let's fix it. And more often than not, we don't change most of the things, but we go at it at material details. We go at it at spec books. We go at it with every single thing and new stuff that comes out, figuring out, building it into the system. I think our system right now, it's on version 15 or something over the past 3.5, 4 years. So it's that thing, never assume that everything that you're doing is fine. More often than not, there's something to improve. Not necessarily wrong, but you can do it better.
Yeah.
There's something with room for growth.
And I mean, how are you going to know what to test if you don't have it on in a system? Like, where are my bottlenecks? Where did we go wrong? You can't really see it if it's not in the system. You definitely can't see it in a spreadsheet, right? I mean, it's not going to, you know, systematically scream out at you from job to job to job what went wrong every time at that point in the pipeline, right?
Even something like coverage of a material, and let's go at the most simple and basic material for roofing, shingles. Everybody says the, okay, 3 bundles is a square. Is it really? You're gonna have some companies that keep through to that. For example, ICO or Atlas. I'm also certain that they do that as well. But some others, it's not that it's bad, but they're like, okay, 3 bundles, give or take, do, because this one has 26 shingles and this has 27. So with all three, you get a shingles. What if you get 3 26s? You're short 2 shingles. Actually figuring out, making some trial and error and a couple of A/B testing, you're gonna refine that even more. Figuring out what's the coverage or what waste factor should I be using. Actually learn from every single job. Not just get the final check and let's go and pay bills and actually and spend what's left, but learn from it.
I love it, man. So now I'd like to pivot. Like, obviously you're third party estimator, systems guy, bookkeeping. I mean, to me, it sounds like a no brainer, but I mean, why? I would definitely, especially in the beginning, use a third party over trying to build it in house, especially if I didn't have a full handle on it. But I mean, other than that, like, what are the other benefits of using a third party like yourself?
The biggest thing that we push out there are two. First off is that we have so much knowledge, not just the one that we've created over the years, but we work with so many contractors all across the country. We learn from all of them. And I'm not gonna give out the secret sauce from one or from another.
Yeah,
But if there's a couple of things here and there that I can show a roofing contractor that's coming in and have them, figure this out or figure this out, or let's try this with your company, we're going to raise our hand, man, and be out there and tell you, hey, let's try this. No additional cost. I'm not a guru. I'm not a life coach nor anything like that. But my thing and what I tell my customers and being fully transparent with them is that if your company is still in business and it's growing, most probably I'm going to have more billables for you constantly. So my company is growing. That's how my company grows.
sure.
And the second one that we think out there is that we're going to be way less expensive than hiring somebody. We actually have a reputation out there. We work with several, then again, companies throughout the states. We work with some material distributors doing their takeoffs nationwide for a couple of their trades that they sell direct. So we have, I don't want to brag nor anything like that, but we have a track of being solid, of working and all that stuff. And, if you can trust us with that, because we can prove it. And also we're less expensive. As I was telling you, a commercial estimating guy, it's going to be 70 grand a year easily. And with that, we can produce, oh man, I don't know, 200 estimates. One guy is not going to have that bandwidth, but with our team, we can do something similar. Same goes for supplement. I was having a discussion earlier today with a customer that we're trying to onboard him, but he's like, I don't want to supplement because it's gonna my roofs, it's gonna delay so much the payments. We go into his system and he's already 7 to 8 weeks out on payment on every single residential work. And I'm like, man, I get it that you can't hire an in-house supplementing guy or girl
Mhm.
because it's gonna be 50 grand a year. But the way we work is that just before you pay me 50 grand over a year, have to make you at least $500,000 on additional things that we supplemented. And that's not considering that you're saving, again, taxes, that you're saving on a W-2, that you're saving on the insurance. So to me, whenever I'm explaining it out, it's a no-brainer, but I get that why they might be skeptic about it and all that stuff. And what we try to do is that, okay, let's do one thing at a time, or I'm going to give you a freebie, or I'm going to do you 2 free jobs on this. And you figure it out, compare it with what you've done, and let's start talking. Let's start walking together through that.
Yeah. And plus you have the experience, the wealth of knowledge, right? Like you're a team of specialists, right? But not only that, but you've worked with so many companies. You can walk into a company and you probably know exactly what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And you can bring that to their attention because nobody ever wakes up in the morning and thinks they have bad breath, right? But lo and behold, we all wake up in the morning and we have bad breath, right? Like
Exactly.
you can point that out, be like, hey, listen, like this is what you're doing extremely well, and this is where you really can improve, and this is how to improve it. Like you can expose that, right?
Definitely. One thing that we've seen, I'm not a big supporter on it, but the one of the biggest fears that I think most roofing business owners have is that, at least residential wise, your best sales guy in about 2, 3 years is gonna start their own company and become your competitor. And why I don't like support it is that I think there's more than enough for everybody here. And if he is thinking on that, probably he's just not feeling valued as he would like to. But working with us, they don't really have to teach all of the things of the business, because there's some roofing sales guys that they're going to teach them how to inspect, then how to fill out the claim, then how to work with the insurance company, and this is the how you order a material list, because they push that to them for them to earn their commission. We can take care of all of that, so that's one of the things that we push on it. But it's a give or take depending on what the business owner is thinking.
Oh yeah. I mean, for you guys too, I assume like success rate wise, like that's probably doing it wrong, that's a job you're not gonna get. Doing it right, that's a job you're going to get. So, like I said, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. I assume you guys charge a percentage or a flat fee per job. So therefore, it was probably a job you were never gonna have anyway, right?
Exactly. To an extent, depends on the service that we're doing. But yeah, it's either a flat fee or it's either a percentage, and we usually try to work around that it makes sense. Because hey, if it doesn't really make sense for me to be paying this much and I'm not making as much, I get it. We're gonna try to work around it. But up until now, we haven't really had any sort of bad referral or something like that out of that.
Nice, man. So, like, this will be like a two-pronged question, but like, if I am a residential, roofer entering into the commercial world because I have a couple, commercial jobs under my belt, like, what's the roadmap to success for that guy?
Work tight with your suppliers.
Hmm.
Usually, suppliers are going to be able to help you. I've heard of some sales reps that they will help the roofer estimate a job, even
Hmm.
because I've heard some residential roofers, like from the sales rep. He's like, man, this guy just sent me an eagle view, or he just sent me a measurement report, and he's like, order me this roof, and it's a flat roof, and I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna. I know. So we always have those coming in, and that's what where supply usually comes to us, and we help them, actually do the estimate and the material list and all that stuff that's going to entitle that job. But I'll say go work with them, because even then can save you a lot on pushing you towards the right manufacturer, or helping you with a discount here or there whenever you're tight or very, very tight on a job out of something that you didn't really figure it out. I've
Hmm.
had that out before. And if they're signing your contract, if it's a re-roof, try to be generous with yourself. And I'm not meaning regarding the profit margin, but rather usually timelines and the schedule payments.
Hmm.
Just out of, if it's the first time, you're gonna have some stuff there. Try to do 40% up front and then two draws or something like that. That's what I'd say. That's what we push them to do. and then be on top of that job. Because if it's your first job out there, try to have the manufacturer rep out there, try to have the supplier out there and learn from them because they're doing this for so many other roofing contractors. Even if they're not specialized on estimating,
Mhm.
they know their stuff. They do this for a living daily. You might be just doing residential, and that's great, but they're doing both of it, and they know from both of it, and start learning out of it. Because if you got your feet into it, okay, take it as a learning experience. Try to do a small one. Just if you lose some money, it's not that big. It's not gonna put you bankrupt. But learn from it, learn from your mistakes. And if you fall to the ground, throw off your dust, step again, and go back in the saddle.
Nice, man. Yeah, and I guess on the other side too, if I'm a newer commercial company, it's probably beneficial to hire somebody like you that has a wealth of knowledge that can hold hands and make sure everything you have in place is correct and what could be better, right? Like throwing gasoline on a fire, right? Like it's just going to make it bigger, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that, more often than not, you're not gonna be, let's phrase it as wise enough as admitting that you're not made for that job right now. Whenever you're with us, we usually see some plans and they're like, let's bid this one. And I'm like, no, because I'm gonna make the bid and I'm gonna do all the estimate and I'm gonna bill you for it. But that's not what I want because I'm know for a fact that you're not gonna be landing this job by no means available. And we could try to figure something out. Recommend you to one of our local customers that probably they can do it and you can learn from it and have to, like some sort of agreement as a commission for that sale
Mhm.
and for you to learn from it, as well as if it's something that you're not gonna do, we're just gonna tell you and be honest. If you want to keep through it with it after we tell you that, then again, we're gonna push a little bit back. And if at that point you're like, nah, let's do it. Okay, I already made did my job on advising you at least 2 times on, hey, you're just not gonna get it.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, and then, wrapping this up, I mean, what's the bigger risk, I guess? Is it bad estimating or is it just a bad like mindset, like not wanting to do it the right way?
I'll say the bad mindset, because the bad mindset is gonna take you to bad estimating and much more mistakes. It's if you're just going at it, and it might be an honest mistake from your side on having that bad mindset,
Hmm.
but it's just gonna be a domino effect on so many things that can go wrong. The Murphy's law, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. So, try to be mindful about it.
Yeah. And then starting off, I probably know the answer to this, but I mean, outsource over in-house, right? All day.
I'll say depends on what stage of your company you're at. And even
Hmm.
at some point, it might be just best one or the other. Because then again, I mean, what we try to push is that we can work with every roofer, the one guy that's starting, the one man army, the small team, the big corporations. We work with all of them. And as well as we have had some companies that are like, you know what, right now I'm having my brother that he works on digital marketing for somebody else, or I'm having my cousin that, he works in a bank and he's going to be doing our bookkeeping, but comes to a point where you need something else and explore your options, figure out what's feasible and, try to get the best bang for your buck.
Nice. And then like for residential contractors, like what's the graduation point to get into commercial? Like what does that look like?
I think it is to the point where you can actually have a growing plan. It's not like I'm going to do 2 million this year and I'm going to do 30 next year. I've told you that we took with art, my manor, we took a company from 2.5 to $25 million in about 3.5 years. It was very, very steep climbing. Honestly, if I could do something different towards, helping those guys, we would have done it on a more stage basis, not just constantly climbing. That puts you in a very tough space, but rather over stages, one step at a time. And the second one is if you're a residential roofer going into commercial and you're decided to do it, never cut off your leg on residential. Keep your residential growing even further because that's going to be the stepping stone to start commercial. If you just cut residential, because I'm now going to be the commercial roofer, I'll bet that you're going to get screwed.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you're going to get screwed.
Well, you want to do what got you there too, right? Like it's always, great if you're not making money off of it. Yeah, you can't just give that up and give up your old residential work too, to just go after this dream, right? You
Yep.
have to like build it first.
Exactly. So, and we've seen it, one good year, 2 or 3 good deals on commercial, and they're like, I don't want to do any more residential because they want to see the big tickets. And residential, it's the foundation for that's my thinking for a good commercial roofing company.
Oh yeah. So I mean, who's your like, in closing this up, like who is your best ideal client that should be reaching out to you? Who are the people you get excited about hearing from?
Any roofer, man, and I know it's every single one because to us it's something new.
Mhm.
Every single one comes with something new, and we're big, as I was telling you, on learning. I think that there's two ways of learning: learning something good from somebody else that they're doing good, as well as being wise enough to learn what bad things not to repeat or replicate.
Mhm.
So we're excited to see everything. The guys that are about to go bankrupt and they're like almost drowning and trying to help them out with everything that we have,
Mhm.
as well as small, big companies, one man armies. I think that the ones that we work the most with are the mid-sized roofing teams. That they're on the 3, 5, 6, $7 million range. And why I think biggest impact with them is that we can do the biggest savings in specific for them. Usually, over the first year, probably they're going to be doing the same amount of work or 1 or 2 million, call it 10, 20% more, but they're going to see a significant bigger profit by the end of the year.
I bet, man. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Is there anything else that you like I missed on or anything like that that you'd like to touch on or
Man, I think that's pretty much it. We're out there not just to sell, not just to grow ourselves, but actually to teach as much as we can. We're a conflict-free company. That's one of the big things for us, that we're not tied with any roofing company nor whatsoever. It's just we're serving roofing contractors out there, no strings tied, nothing. We owe nothing to nobody else. So that's it.
love it, man. I love it. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Fernando. This is awesome. Yeah, and if anybody's out there listening to this that's a residential roofer wanting to get into commercial or a commercial roofer that just wants to better everything that we talked to about on this podcast, reach out to Fernando. He's a real good guy.
Hope to hear from you also.
All right, buddy.